If you're watching this, you've probably done it. You saw her story, your stomach dropped, and suddenly your fingers were typing something you knew you shouldn't send. And the worst part, the moment you hit send, you felt it. The regret, the loss of power, the sinking realization that you just handed her confirmation she wasn't even asking for. Men don't ruin no contact because they miss her. They ruin it because silence forces them to face themselves. But here's what nobody tells you. There's one moment, and only one, where breaking no contact isn't a mistake. It's the smartest move you'll ever make. And if you don't know how to recognize that moment, you'll keep repeating the same painful cycle. Let's break it right now. What you felt in that moment isn't unusual. I've seen hundreds of men lose their leverage in the exact same way. Not because they didn't care, but because no one ever walked them through the emotional mechanics behind no contact. You were. Never shown how women interpret your responses, how timing shifts the power dynamic, or how your fear distorts your judgment. That's why this video exists, to give you the clarity most men never get. If you want guidance from someone who understands this cycle deeply, like the video and subscribe. Let's start with the real reason men break no contact too early. You know why most men break no contact long before it has the chance to work? It's not love. It's not destiny. It's fear. The kind of fear that sits on your chest at 2 a.m. and convinces you that if you don't reach out right now, she'll slip away forever. Men don't break no contact because they miss her. They break it because they can't handle the version of themselves they're forced to confront in the silence. When a relationship ends, the first thing most men lose isn't the woman. It's their sense of identity. You're not just afraid of losing her. You're terrified of losing the future you imagined, the validation she gave you, the feeling of being chosen. That fear creates a loop you know too well. You check her stories. You read your old messages. You replay every moment trying to decode what went wrong. Then anxiety builds, imagination spirals, and before you know it, your fingers are typing something your dignity never approved. And here's the truth you don't want to hear. When you chase from a low position, you don't look romantic. You look replaceable. Women don't respond to the words you send. They respond to the energy you come from. If that energy is fear-driven, approval-seeking, or desperate for reassurance, she feels it instantly. Attraction collapses long before your message even delivers. Take this scenario. A man sees his ex post a song on her story that reminds him of a night they spent together. His heart drops. His brain says she's reaching out, but she isn't. She's checking whether he's still watching. She's testing of her. Influence still lands. And when he replies, even with something harmless like, "This made me think of you too," he confirms it. He puts himself right back into the role she already pulled away from. Breaking no contact too early doesn't bring her closer. It tells her you're still exactly where she left you, emotionally available on demand. When you lead from fear, you lose your frame. And when you lose your frame, you lose your power. Most men think no contact is a trick, a mind game, a tactic to make her miss you. But if that's how you're approaching it, you've already missed the point. No contact isn't about silence for the sake of silence. It's about repositioning yourself. Mentally, emotionally, and even energetically. It's not absence, it's recalibration. When the breakup hits, your mind becomes a battlefield. Every notification feels like a potential lifeline. Every moment alone feels like danger. That's why detox is necessary. No contact cuts off. The stimulus that keeps your nervous system in survival mode. You're not running from her. You're interrupting the cycle that keeps you weak. You're giving yourself space to breathe again, to think clearly, to remember who you were before the relationship became the center of your identity. And here's what most men never realize. Emotional distance creates perspective. Not just for you, for her. When a woman knows she has unlimited access to you, she doesn't feel your absence. She doesn't feel the weight of losing you. But when you detach, not with bitterness, but with purpose, something shifts. Suddenly, the comfort she took for granted isn't there. The pattern of you responding, following, validating, it stops. And that silence forces her to confront a question she never had to ask before. Did I lose something valuable? But none of that happens if you're still engaging in what I call half contact, responding to her random emojis, watching her stories, liking her posts, sending a friendly check in because you don't want to seem cold. All of that keeps you trapped in the same dynamic that pushed her away: predictable, accessible, emotionally exposed. No contact works because it breaks the pattern. It introduces scarcity. It reestablishes self respect. It shifts the psychological power from "I'm waiting for you" to "I'm rebuilding me." And that's the version of you she's actually capable of respecting again. Not the man scrambling to win her back, but the man who's rebuilding his life with or without her. You don't do no contact to get her back. You do it to get yourself back. If there's one trap almost every man falls into during no contact, it's mistaking fake outreach for a real attempt to reconnect. Not every message from her is an invitation. Sometimes it's just a pulse. Check, a quiet way of asking, "Do I still have influence over you?" And if you respond the wrong way, you hand her the answer on a silver platter. The first form is the easiest to fall for: the low effort text. "Hey, you good? Thinking of you." These messages aren't bridges. They're breadcrumbs. They're not sent with intention. They're sent with curiosity. She's not trying to rebuild anything. She's checking whether you're still emotionally available. And the moment you reply quickly, she knows you are. Her anxiety goes down and her interest often goes with it. Then there's the second form, jealousy bait. A story with another guy in the background. A sad quote about letting go. A photo from a place you used to go together. Not because she wants you back, but because she wants to see if you're watching. It's a power move disguised as vulnerability. The moment you react, view her story, reply to the post, send a "hope you're okay," you reaffirm her control. The third form is trickier. Emotional drift messages like, "I've been missing you lately," or "Nostalgia just hit me." They sound meaningful, but they're actually empty calories. There's no accountability, no intention, no direction. It's just emotion looking for validation. And when you respond, you give her exactly what she came for: reassurance without responsibility. Why do men fall for these signals? Because they interpret them through the lens of hope, not reality. They read them with their hearts instead of their eyes. And in doing so, they ruin the frame that no contact is built to repair. Because the second you respond to something low effort, you communicate one thing: you're still right there waiting, ready to be pulled back into the same dynamic she walked away from. Fake outreach isn't a doorway, it's a test. Fail it, and the power shifts right back to where it was in her hands. There is only one moment, one rare, unmistakable shift where breaking no contact actually makes sense. And it has nothing to do with her missing you, feeling lonely, stalking your profile, or sending late night nostalgia. The only time you should even consider responding is when she shows emotional accountability. Not emotion, not longing, accountability. Most men confuse the two because they want to. A message that says, "I miss you," lights up every anxious, hopeful part of your brain. But missing you isn't the same as valuing you. And it's definitely not the same as taking responsibility for what broke the relationship in the first place. Accountability is different. It requires maturity. It requires discomfort. It requires self-reflection. And that's exactly why it's so rare. Most people would rather feel than face themselves. Emotional accountability means she's not just expressing sadness. She's acknowledging her role. She's not dodging, not sugarcoating, not shifting blame onto circumstances. She's owning her actions. You'll recognize it instantly because the tone is different. It sounds like clarity, not confusion. It sounds like ownership, not deflection. A message rooted in accountability might look like this: "I've been thinking a lot about how things ended. I realize I shut you out when you needed honesty from me. That wasn't fair to you. I was avoiding my own fears and I handled things poorly. I'm not reaching out just because I miss the comfort. I miss the connection, and I want to talk if you're open to it. Not to rewrite the past, but to fix what I broke." Do you see the difference? There's no vague nostalgia, no cryptic half emotions, no passive lines like, "We both messed up" or "Things were complicated." There's specificity, humility, ownership. And here's why this matters. Real accountability signals a shift in the psychological dynamic. She's not checking your availability. She's stepping forward. She's not fishing for validation. She's offering responsibility. That shift demands maturity from you too, because responding from a place of neediness ruins the opportunity. But responding from strength, that changes everything. Accountability is the only doorway worth walking through. Everything else is just noise. Before you respond to anything she sends, you need a system, a filter that protects you from your own emotions and from her ambiguity. Because when a man is in a vulnerable place, even the weakest message can look like hope. That's why you need a clear standard, not a feeling, a framework. And it comes down to three non negotiable elements: accountability, specificity, and intention. Miss even one and you stay silent. The first pillar is accountability. This is the foundation. If she can't own her part in what happened, she isn't ready for anything real. Accountability means she acknowledges how her behavior affected the relationship. Not in a vague, soft, focused way, but in a grounded, responsible one. It's the difference between "I miss you" and "I pushed you away when I should have communicated." One expresses emotion, the other expresses growth. The second pillar is specificity. General feelings don't mean anything after a breakup. Everyone misses something: the comfort, the routine, the validation. Specificity shows she has actually reflected. It proves she didn't just feel lonely for 10 minutes and decide to reach out. When she references a real moment, a pattern, or a behavior, something that required introspection, that's when you know she's moved beyond impulse. A message like, "I've been thinking about how I shut down during our last argument," carries weight. It shows she wasn't just reminiscing, she was processing. The third pillar is intention to rebuild. This is where most messages collapse. Missing you is easy. Admitting mistakes is harder, but taking action, that's where the truth shows. You're not looking for poetic emotion. You're looking for direction. A willingness to repair, not just revisit. A message that conveys, "I want to fix this and do it differently," matters. "I miss what we had" does not. And here's the line you need to tattoo onto your mind: missing you isn't a plan. These three pillars form the filter that protects your sanity and your dignity. If her message doesn't hit all three, not one, not two, but all three, you don't respond. Not out of pettiness, but out of self-respect. Silence isn't punishment, it's clarity. One of the biggest mistakes men make during no contact isn't what they send, it's what they see. When you're emotionally raw, your mind becomes a projection screen. You start reading her messages, her posts, even her silence through the lens of hope instead of truth. And hope, when mixed with fear, is a dangerous drug. It makes you hallucinate meaning where there is none. There's a psychological reason for this. After a breakup, your brain is starving for dopamine. The same dopamine it used to get from her attention, her voice, her presence. So the moment you see her name pop up on your phone, even with a meaningless, "Hey," your brain lights up. It tells you, this is it. She's coming back. But that's not reality speaking. That's withdrawal. That's why you need to shift how you read her. Messages from participant to observer. Instead of asking, "What does this mean for us?" ask, "What does this reveal about her?" When you detach from the emotional urgency, the patterns become clearer. You stop seeing potential and start seeing behavior. You stop romanticizing what you want and start recognizing what is. A good way to anchor yourself is by asking three grounding questions every time she reaches out. 1. Does this message serve her needs or our relationship? Is she seeking clarity or comfort, accountability or attention? 2. Is there real ownership or just emotion? Feelings without responsibility are cheap. Anyone can feel something. Not everyone can face themselves. 3. Is there action behind her words? If she's not signaling a willingness to rebuild, then it's not reconnection, it's release seeking. When you read her message through this frame, you stop being the man waiting to be chosen. You become the man evaluating whether she deserves access to you again. And here's the paradox. That shift in mindset is exactly what makes you more attractive. Women aren't drawn to men who react to every emotional ripple. They're drawn to men who hold their center, who don't bend just because a familiar voice whispers their name. Never forget this. You evaluate her, not the other way around. If you decide to break no contact, it must never come from panic, longing, or the excitement of finally hearing from her. It has to come from clarity. Because the moment you respond, you're setting the tone for whatever happens next. And if that tone is soft, needy, or relieved, the dynamic resets right back to the imbalance that pushed her away. You don't respond as the man who's been waiting. You respond as the man who's been growing. Your message should feel calm, grounded, and unmistakably self respecting. Something that acknowledges her effort without handing her all of your emotional power. You're not here to gush, over explain, or make confessions. You're here to test whether her accountability is consistent, not momentary. A strong response sounds like presence, not pursuit. Something along the lines of, I appreciate you saying that. I've taken time to reflect as well. I'm open to a real conversation if we're both willing to approach things differently. Clear, mature, balanced. There are a few rules you absolutely must follow when you craft that reply. First, no emotional dumping. This is not the moment to tell her how broken you've been, how much you cried, or how often you thought about reaching out. That only pulls you out of your frame. Second, nostalgia talk. Don't get sucked into replaying the past or romanticizing old memories. That's comfort conversation, and comfort is not what rebuilds respect. Third, don't interrogate. Asking 10 questions at once signals insecurity, not leadership. Instead, ask the 3 questions that actually matter, the ones that reveal her seriousness. What made you reach out now? What's different this time? What are you hoping for moving forward? A woman who's truly ready will answer these without defensiveness. She won't dance around them or shift blame. She'll show you she's thought about this, that she's stepping toward you with intention, not impulse. And you need to hold on to the most important mindset of all. You're not responding to win her back. You're responding to evaluate whether she's earned the chance to step back into your life. Most men secretly hope that no contact will make her come running back with perfect clarity. But here's the reality you don't want to face. Most women will not reach out the right way. Not because they don't care at all, but because accountability is uncomfortable, vulnerability is risky, and ownership requires maturity. So instead of showing up with depth, they show up with crumbs. A vague text, a recycled memory. And when you respond to those crumbs, you train her to keep giving you crumbs. If she reaches out half-heartedly, that's not rejection. That's information. Low effort is an answer. Vague emotion is an answer. Inconsistency is an answer. And your silence is how you honor that answer. Silence is not a strategy to manipulate her. It's a filter that removes anyone who isn't showing up with real intention. It protects your peace, your dignity, and your future. This is the moment where most men fall apart because they confuse loneliness with love. They mistake boredom for bonding. They see her viewing their story and think it means something. But if she's not stepping forward with clarity, it doesn't matter what she watches, what she posts, or what she hints at. What matters is what she chooses. And if she's not choosing you with consistency and accountability, then she's choosing distance. You don't argue with that. You accept it and you rise above it. And that's where your focus needs to go. Building yourself. Not to make her jealous, not to win the breakup, but to become the man whose presence demands respect from her, from others, and most importantly from yourself. Pour into your body, your mission, your finances, your discipline. The version of you that emerges from this process will be a man she would have to chase, not a man she can dismiss. Here's the truth that anchors everything. If your silence makes her disappear, then your words were never going to make her stay. Letting the wrong woman fade creates the space for the right one to recognize your value without games, without ambiguity, without emotional chaos. When you strip away all the noise, all the emotional confusion, all the what-ifs and late-night spirals, the truth is simple. There is only one moment you break no contact. When she shows real accountability, real specificity, and real intention. Not half of it, not almost, not a hint of potential wrapped in nostalgia. Only when she steps toward you with clarity. And responsibility does responding make sense. And even then, you don't answer as the man who's been waiting. You answer as the man who's been rebuilding. Because your value isn't defined by whether she comes back. Your value is defined by the standards you hold, the boundaries you protect, and the life you're committed to building, regardless of who stays or leaves. If she can't meet you with effort, honesty, and consistency, then your silence is not punishment. It's protection. It's the reminder that you aren't a safety net, a backup option, or an emotional comfort station. You're a man with direction, a man with dignity, a man who knows that peace is worth more than proximity. And self respect is worth more than temporary attention. So if you're watching this because you're hurting, because you're confused, or because you're fighting the urge to reach out, breathe. Re enter. Remember who you are without her. And if this message gave you clarity, support what we're building here. Like the video, drop a comment, share it with someone who needs the reminder, and subscribe so you stay connected to this community of men committed to growth, strength, and grounded self-worth. You don't stay silent to be chosen. You stay silent because you choose yourself, and that choice will never lead you wrong.